so much for staying tuned to this channel. If you just joined us, this is TMI. Vis-a-vis this morning on ITV, I am Wilson on Masha. It's all about the security situation in Nigeria. I'm going to tackle it from various fronts. The first front is what's happening in Imo State, where Hope Uzodinma called a town hall meeting to tell that he's going to name terrorists sponsors in Imo State, which he did, and that caused so much controversies. That is on one hand. On the other hand, you know, Governor Autumn of Benue State, he made a proposal that, look, since President, you've chosen to name bandits terrorists, why not extend it to some persons from a particular nation? He talked about the Meiti Allah and, of course, all others that are associated with them for the same tribe. You should name them terrorists. Specifically, talked about the Fulani specifically, and many persons have been talking about it, that man went overboard. That's what they're saying. He may just be right. Did he go overboard, or is he correct? Well, my analyst will throw more light on that. And of course, to start off the discussion, is all about the president finally agreeing and gazetting it into law that bandits should be called terrorists. Yes, it's been signed, sealed, but has it been delivered? Is it going to change anything? So these are the three fronts we want to take a look at it from. From other segments, you know, the president agreeing with state policing and all that. With me here in the studio, I have a legal practitioner, a human rights activist, a political analyst, both local and international politics is well grounded. Join me to welcome Barrister Emmanuel Obakbolo. Barrister, welcome to TMI Sunday's edition. Appreciate your coming.
Good morning, Nigerians, and good morning, Wilson.
All right. So very close to him, he is a fundamental human rights activist. He's in the union, yes, and of course an entrepreneur, a farmer, and he is a legal practitioner. Join me to welcome Barrister Robinson Imade. Barrister, welcome to TMI Sunday's edition.
Thank you.
Welcome. You're first for this year, really. Even your first. All of it is your first, so to speak. Anyway, same to you, sir. Barrister Anakwe Mbanefo, a legal practitioner, a human rights activist. Welcome to TMI Sunday's edition. Appreciate your coming. All right. Now, I will, start off from you, Barrister Emmanuel Obakbolo. Let's take it from the first in our lineup. Talking about the number one man in this country after a court, gave a judgment that all these bandits should be termed terrorists. It took quite a while for Mr. President to really agree, or let's say president or presidency right now, to really agree to call them terrorists. What's your own angle to all of this?
Well, first and foremost, as a Nigerian and as a right-thinking Nigerian, though the president has finally acknowledged the fact that the activities of the terrorist metamorphosed bandits, because the word bandits came from the government. The government nicknamed those persons, those criminals, so to speak, as bandits. It was the government that nicknamed them. And the same government, after so much cry and ulabalu by Nigerians, now has agreed to the fact that what Nigerians have been saying, that indeed it is true. And they've come out to acknowledge the fact that their activities is tantamount to that of the terrorists, and as such they were named terrorists just now. But for me, to my mind, I am not a praise singer that will sing the praises of the president or the presidency or the federal government for what they have done just now, because it was long overdue. And more so, it is not just naming the metamorphosed terrorist bandits, now terrorists again, as terrorists alone. It is how the federal government, as encapsulated in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to give welfare, security, and protect lives and properties. That is the responsibility of the government. And that we want to see just now, that the government will be able to secure the lives of Nigerians and the properties of Nigerians. Naming them terrorists, yes, that is a step towards the right direction. But more important is for the government to see how they can better the life of Nigerians by giving Nigerians security, because Nigerians have suffered a lot since the democratic dispensation, since 1999 date. Nigerians have suffered a lot from the hands of a few troublesome, hard-hearted persons who have chosen to ensure, to see that they put pains in the life of Nigerians. So the government should stand to its responsibility to secure the lives of Nigerians.
All right, stands to its responsibility to secure the lives of Nigerians. Barrister Robinson Imade, let's say last week there was, some call it massacre in Zamfara state, where Buhari got so angry, was like, what is the meaning of all this? And this might have happened after bandits were named terrorists. I mean, is it infuriating them, or naming them terrorists doesn't really stop them from carrying out their carnage?
In my humble submission, it shows that they do not believe that the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria can really do much. They believe so. Otherwise, like he said, from time, it was obvious that the activities of the so-called bandits were not short of terrorism. And it took the courts to call them terrorists before the president, maybe grudgingly, because it even took a long while after the court judgment to now say, okay, let's not bandits. And though, in my opinion, I don't know, I don't want to believe. I think that the so-called bandits, because government people know them, that is the much I can say about that. Would have been told, don't worry, they wanted us to call you terrorists, fine, but the new name we gave you, bandits, may still be there. Whatever happens, they would have apologized to them.
You use what they would apologize to them. Well, since you're not sure, you made two comments that they know that they will apologize to them. You cannot prove that.
Are you not sure that they know them? What's his name? The Islamic cleric,
Bumi,
has constantly told government that he met with them, he's going to meet with them. The terrorists today meet with state governors, they post for photographs with them. They receive largesse from governors. Take Kaduna, take Zamfara, they know them. And at the end of the day, you have not named them terrorists. Are they being treated as terrorists?
Okay.
Is that the way we treat terrorism? You just name a group of people who have been terrorizing your country for so long. You finally had the effrontery to name them bandits, helped by the courts. And in a couple of days, they have unleashed mayhem. Yeah. More than 200 people were killed, and people, they are still counting. In Islamic religion, they say within 24 hours of the death of somebody, you should be buried. But we are told now that even those who died now, it may not be safe to bury them yet. They are still counting. As far as I am concerned, let me tell terrorists is at the mercy of the court. But the truth of the matter is, I don't see this government treating the bandits, so to speak, as terrorists.
Okay.
They may name them bandits, terrorists, but they won't treat them as terrorists. That is why they have come out to say, oh, we are now terrorists, but let us show you the meaning of terrorism. And what has happened?
Okay.
Nothing. And I'm sure nothing will happen.
All right, now take a look at his last comment, talking about his last phrase. Since you've named us terrorists, let's now show you the meaning of terrorism, though related to the Zamfara massacre. According to reports, over 100 killed, and presidency is like really, really bleeding. Barrister Mbanefo, what do you feel about this?
Yeah, I want to align myself with the submission of my learned colleagues here present, especially on the ground that the primary essence of government is to protect lives and property. The primary essence of government is to protect, it's the duty of any government in power to ensure that lives and property of its citizenry is being protected. It is also for a government to be a legitimate government. The word legitimate in the line. Yes. That government should be able to respect the constitution of the country wherein they find themselves. And every other thing that revolves about governance revolves all about the lives and properties of the government. The APC government, as at the time, one of their campaign promises was to ensure that they bring order to the society. One of the campaigns that was used against the outgone government then, or PDP, was that government has failed in protecting lives and property of Nigerians. And Nigerians voted for this government in power right now, with all due respect to them, with hope that they are going to live up to their campaign promises of ensuring that the Boko Haram war at that time was brought to a stop, so that Nigerians can go about their normal business. Unfortunately, since 2015 till date, this government in power have not delivered in their campaign promises of bringing law and order to Nigeria. Again, on the issue of naming bandits terrorists, we are all Nigerians and we have been here quite a while. We know what's happening. To me, it is laughable for this government at this twilight of this administration, at this point of exit, to just remember that these gentlemen should be named bandits. It makes no sense to me. We live in a country where there are different laws for different people. We live in a country where there are different laws for different people, for different sections of the country. For instance, if the federal government can declare IPOB and ESN a terrorist group, and then this group of people from the onset was talking about self-determination, and government says they are terrorists. Meanwhile, we are losing some states to bandits in the north. As we speak, there is a war going on in the north, staged by the so-called bandits against the people. You cannot sleep with your eyes closed in Zamfara State, in Bauchi, in Taraba, in Katsina, where the president comes from, and Borno State, and so many other states in the north. We are almost losing these states to the so-called bandits. And the implication of what is going on is that the way we are losing the war may make somebody to believe that probably we have a very weak military. If we cannot contain internal aggression, how can we contain an external aggression? And so if another country, our neighboring country engages us, for instance, how can we re-engage them if we, at this point, cannot be able to put the so-called bandits to a stop? Unfortunately, most unfortunately, the government have refused to take responsibility.
All right.
And of course, what makes you a government is that you should be able to strategize And at the end of every year, like this year has ended, we sit down with the executive and said, what were we able to achieve the previous year?
Okay.
And how do we now
forge ahead
from this point of view?
All right.
Unfortunately, as far as this government is concerned, on the issue of security, I don't think there have been anything to joyful about.
Okay.
So at the point we are right now, as far as this issue of insecurity is concerned, it's a complete failure.
All right, some may not agree with that. Your last comment saying it's a complete failure. Now, to Barrister Emmanuel Obakono, you know, Bumi, he was talking about, they said, don't name these guys terrorists. Then when it was done, he said he has stopped associating with them. But he gave a warning that if you name them terrorists, it may get worse. Now, talking about them terrorists, there was a massacre in Zamfara. Were these guys provoked to do it, or is to show to Nigerians that somewhere along the line it's like all back, no bite from the presidency?
Yes, the presidency is a toothless bulldog.
But some may not agree with that.
Yes, in the sense that if you look at the activities of the bandit, one drama Nigerians always witness is that before now, we're talking of fighting terrorism that has to do with the bandit, with the Boko Haram. Then later on, we heard that another group of terrorists have come to align with Boko Haram, and that is called ISWAP. Then, before you know it, we started hearing banditry, the activities of bandits in the northwest, whereas the terrorists started in the northeast. Now, to divert the minds of Nigerians from fighting terrorism squarely, the government, in its wisdom, quotes now, came up with the metamorphosed name bandits and banditry. Before you know it, we jettisoned the fight against terrorism in the northeast. And we started focusing on banditry in the northwest. Be that as it may, the government again, wanting to divert the mind of Nigerians, have come up, take so much time to name the bandits terrorists. Now they have chosen to name the bandits terrorists. I quite agree with my learned colleagues here that it is just mere naming. There is nothing much that will be given to this war. Because whether or not the government believes it, Nigeria is fighting a war. Now, we now have
a war against terrorists.
Yes, we now have three groups of terrorists. We have the Boko Haram terrorists. We have the ISWAP terrorists. Then we now have the bandits terrorists. And none, to my mind, will be able to conquer. Some time ago, we were told by the Minister of Information that technically Nigeria has conquered Boko Haram terrorists. But what is it is today? That question is for you also, Wilson. What is the situation today? So, I do not see this government sincere. I do not see this government, in all honesty, fighting terrorism.
But they are fighting it.
No,
Wilson. They brought Tucano jets for crying out loud.
Tucano jets, Hamatan is hitting it in Kano. If you are not aware, I was privileged to see it in Kano. The Hamatan is hitting it there. And nobody is saying anything. But if it were to be in the southeast, they would have released the Tucano jets. If not that there were conditions attached to the purchase of the Tucano jets, this presidency would have used it in the southeast.
Anyway, since we're not sure of that, let's leave it at that, because right
now it's not a matter of not sure of that.
Right
the
now,
body language of the president is not encouraging to Nigerians. His conduct is not encouraging to Nigerians. And I do not see the sincerity of this government fighting terrorism.
Okay.
Just like my learned senior, yes, said, they just pamper them. Maybe after naming them bandits, they now apologize to them. And that's why the men had the nerves to say, okay, we are going to show you that we are indeed terrorists. And do you know, no apology from the presidency, no apology from anybody. I was privileged to read the Gazette, the gazetted laws,
yeah.
Nicknaming the bandits terrorists now. If you read it, the lines, he said, bandits operating in any part of the country, for goodness sake. We know where bandits are operating. It was the same government who said unknown gunmen in the southeast, IPOB in the southeast, ESN in the southeast. Why is the government now saying bandits operating in any part of Nigeria? Do you know the meaning of that?
That means once you're a bandit, you're a terrorist.
The language would have been bandits operating in the northwest of Nigeria, and if need be, any other part. See, you qualify it. There is no qualification here. The government are just giving Nigerians an open check, so that tomorrow, by the time some aggrieved Nigerians in any other part of Nigeria and now say, oh, we don't like what is happening, this government will be quick to name them bandits and terrorists.
Okay, fine.
That is the platform they have provided.
That is an assumption, right? Because right now you are assuming.
It is not an assumption.
You are assuming.
The law is there.
All right, I'll come back to you, Barrister Emmanuel Obapolo. You heard the point you raised. You talked about the Gazette saying it is like targeted towards some persons. All right, and moreover, also if we take a look at what is going on, it's like what Gumi prophesied is coming to pass. Gumi, begging your pardon, he said, look, if you do this, it will get worse. Then there should be other way of really solving this situation. That is on one hand. And of course, on the other hand, take a look at what is going on right now. For what Mbanafe talked about, he said is a little too late. You have almost a year plus or less than a year. Would that be enough to really put all these things to rest?
Well, I want to start from your last position. My learning colleague said it's a little too late. It's at the twilight of this administration. But we forget that in 2014, Buhari said he would not need more than 6 months to ensure that Boko Haram was completely wiped out. We have more than 6 months from now to the end of the administration. So,
are you being satirical now, what? Or you are serious about this?
It is obviously a little late, but not too late. But will the government act? That's the question. Secondly, you talked about Gumi's prediction coming to pass. Maybe I should ask, who is Gumi? Next, who was Gumi working for? Or who is he working for? Was he working for the then bandits that he was meeting with from time to time? He told Nigeria the military could go to where the bandits were, but he was going to meet with them. You bring bandits out to meet with governors, they collect money to equip themselves and enjoy themselves, and they go back. Gumi is not a spirit. He's a Nigerian, well-known Islamic cleric, well-known to President Buhari and his administration. So who was he working for? If even a governor in the south with immunity was going to meet with these bandits and giving reports to Nigeria and Nigerians, I'm sure that the president would have, in spite of the immunity enjoyed by the governor, put the governor under at best house arrest. Nothing happened to Gumi. In my opinion, I think Gumi was a go-between the bandits and not the Nigerian people, but the bandits and the Buhari administration. Let us also look at you saying that perhaps naming them bandits came a little too late. Who named them bandits? This administration...
I mean, name them terrorists.
Terrorists.
Yes.
Buhari would never have called bandits terrorists. It took the court to do it, the judiciary arm of government. I don't know, let us believe that the judges will not be wish hunted. I want to believe that since in the last interview you said one area you will not want to interfere with the judiciary.
Judiciary, yes.
Fine. But Buhari as president of Nigeria, will never, on his own, name bandits terrorists.
That's your own opinion.
Is early, otherwise, for how long have they been there? For how long have we been seeking? For how long have Nigerians been yearning that these people should be not just be called terrorists, but treated as terrorists? He has obeyed the courts. He has gazetted. They are now terrorists. What happens from there? Terrorism, you are going to see, will be a term to describe in this administration people who are highly favored. Because I'm sure that nothing will happen to these guys. Call them terrorists. You insist we call them terrorists. Okay, they are now terrorists. He told us in his last interview that his age is now weighing him down, and that it's affecting his job. This is a mal-contested election just about 2 years ago.
About no, 2 tenors, that's almost 7 years now.
I'm talking about the
second tenor, yeah.
If he knew, age is not a plague. Age is not an injury that just comes. Age comes gradually. If in your first tenure, although he didn't, we all know he didn't perform to the expectations of Nigerians. If after the first tenure or during the first tenure you discovered that he was aging, why would he now come for the second tenure to now tell us he is old? Who is excited about your old age if your old age is putting Nigeria into the situation that we are in now?
Is it a crime for one to be honest now?
Why would you? If
the president is just being honest. He said, look, this is it.
If he was honest about his age, I don't want to go into whether he's 79, 80 or 89. But if he was honest that age was weighing him down, he would not have come for the second term if he loved Nigeria.
All right.
I don't see patriotism in you coming to contest election in 2019 and telling us in 2020, 2021 that age is stopping. Why don't you resign and be to a younger person? Must you die in office?
All right.
All right. So I don't believe that naming the terrorist has any meaning.
Okay.
They have started to unleash mayhem. They will continue to unleash mayhem. This administration will not treat these so-called terrorists as terrorists. That's one. 2, I don't agree that the Nigerian military is weak at all. We have seen some soldiers coming to say, look, we do not have authority to shoot. We don't have authority to fight. These bandits or these terrorists as operating, our Boy Scout can overrun them if they do not have the backings of government. Sani Abacha said if terrorism lasts beyond the specified time, I think 24 hours. You know that government is involved in it. That saying is true today. If the government does not continue to fund terrorism in Nigeria, our Boy Scout will overrun them.
All right. Well, you just said something quite heavy because the government doesn't fund terrorism. Let's be guarded, please. Let's be guarded because if not, Tucano jail would have been bought, and of course, a lot of money wouldn't have been earmarked. Yes, they fight against terrorism.
In the Tucano jail, Buhari said in his interview recently that equipment was lacking, in spite of the billions of dollars voted into.
All right.
Security.
Now let's move over to what El-Rufai said. He said, look, bomb left, bomb right, carpet bombing, bomb these terrorists, then later we can rebuild. Do you think our president should take that advice so that all this will just come to an end? It was like carpet bombing. Bomb all their hideout, bomb everything. So we'll have peace. Then we're talking about rebuilding. What do you feel about that advice?
Yeah, we all know El-Rufai, the governor of Kaduna State.
Yeah.
And he has been appointed as chairman of so many committees by his party. They have also made some recommendations in the past. Some of those recommendations that were made, I don't see anyone being followed by this new government. The issue now that we're discussing this morning is terrorism, naming bandits, terrorists, and all that.
Yeah.
What is actually the major cause of banditry in Nigeria? I think it's important to look at that too. What is the major cause of banditry in the northern part of Nigeria. If the government, of course, failed to find out the cause of banditry, we may be fighting a lose war, because at the end of the day, we are going to lose this war. About a few years ago, a United States organization said that the Igbo tribe in Nigeria has the fastest network of employment in the whole world. Because 10 Igbo men are coming here right now, engage 3 boys to serve them. After 3 or 4 years, they will settle them. Those gentlemen will also go back in and engage other boys again, another 3 boys again, they will come. So they keep expanding and expanding. These people have been engaged in the trade. You put these people who brought them from the village to the town are engaging them. We all know that in northern Nigeria, they encourage what is called amajeri, where young children out of school are given plates to be begging for alms along the street. Not disabled. Children that ought to be in the classroom are given plates to be begging for food along the street, begging for money along the street. At the age of 18, 17, 16, 18 and above, if they remain unemployed, they tend to turn to the so-called bandits, now called terrorists. What is the northern governors doing about stopping these children being on the street on a daily basis, begging for alms? You can agree with me that the former president, Govt Jonathan, had established some schools in the northern Nigeria to tackle the issue of amajeri. And that was a guy with a vision of ensuring that this issue of amajeri is tackled, so that the issue of getting youth unemployment, wherein they will not go into banditry and criminal activities, can stop. But this government couldn't continue with that, because they felt that the man was a problem with Nigeria, as it were. But today, you can see what that is turning
into. All right.
And so, if the federal government is not even asking the question as to how did we get to this place we are right now, by the time we win the war, how do we now continue? The fact of the matter remains that we need a government that will be more focused, that will sit down and say, okay, in the next 2 and so years, we'll get to this and so place.
So okay, you're saying now the bombing will not solve anything?
The bombing cannot solve anything if the root cause of the banditry or terrorism is not tackled.
All right.
And again, like my latest friend said, he made a very germane point, that the idea of the Gazette trying to generalize who is a terrorist and who is not a terrorist may end up caging unionism in Nigeria. Maybe Labour people are going to say want to protest. The government will not say they're terrorists. Or some people are not saying that, well, we are no longer comfortable with the system in this country. We want to go. You not be named terrorist. And so we have to be very careful. Because at the end of the day, the law has been met. Somebody will sit down in the court and will be interpreting that law. Lawyers will go to court and tell my lord, this and this and this is what the law says. And so we should be guided. And so we cannot have a National Assembly that is not reading in between the lines because of the future.
All right.
And so I don't believe that this government, like my latest friend said, with all respect to him, that this government is honest about the war on terrorism.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, you've heard them, and of course you've heard also about the action of these bandits in Zamfara State. Although they were named terrorists, it was a massacre according to the print media, and Mr. President reacted saying this just can't continue. Let's see how the war will definitely be fought, and let's see if definitely before this administration winds up, if the war against terrorism will be won. Nigerians, they are watching. So I made the promise that give me 6 months. You won't hear of them again. Someone said that, and here we are going to 7, are going to the 8th year right now. We are still battling. You be the judge of that. But one man in the East, the #1 man in Imo State, says he has a formula that might just work. The president talked about it, saying you have to name sponsors of terrorists. And this man held a town hall meeting in Igbo, you call it Umunna. He called everyone together and said, these are the people sponsoring terrorism in Imo State. We're talking about Governor Hope Uzodinma, and that caused another severe argument, disagreement in Imo State, because 2 prominent names were mentioned. People like saying, is this for real, or this act is politically motivated? Barrister Emmanuel Obakolo, Imo State saga. Hope Uzodinma saying there is a cure, so to speak, or let's say a start-off to really combat this war, and he held a town hall meeting to name sponsors of terrorism in Imo State. What do you feel about his ordeal and what he did in the town hall meeting?
I don't really, anytime I hear the name Hope Uzodinma, I get more worried, because the governor of Imo State ought to be the father of Imolites. But to my mind, he is not appearing to near it. Now, looking at his purported meeting and assertion that he will name terrorist sponsors in Imo State, the first question that comes to one's mind is, do we have terrorism law in Imo State, or is terrorism act? So, and the issue of terrorism, is it only applicable to Imo State or to Nigeria in general? And that keeps me worried, more worried, because the governor does not even understand the ABC of politics, and he does not understand the ABC of law as it is. The governor is trying to play politics, but he has forgotten that his second term bid, his election is drawing closer by the second. The governor has forgotten that. And now he has tagged so many persons his political enemies, and he wants to give Abuja the impression that, look, as one of the governors in the southeast, I am the best governor here, and I'm doing the best job. So the arithmetics, the legal arithmetics that brought me to power in my second term can also be applied to bring me to power in the second term. That is what the governor is trying to play. But the governor has missed it. He should go and sit down and ask Imolites how election runs in Imo State. I want to tell you, Wilson, just now, that Imo State is one of the states where the people are highly educated. You cannot just push them aside with the wave of the palm. It's just not possible. They are looking at him. He's getting deep and deeper into errors, political errors, by the second. So him coming out to call a town hall meeting, maybe selected a few persons that, in quotes now, that are loyal to him, and begin to make this kind of error, is really worrisome.
All right. It's worrisome.
And I don't see him succeeding.
Okay. Barrister Robinson Imade, what do you feel about this?
Well, I don't know if I have the right information on this just now, because what the information I have is that at the town hall meeting, the man failed to name the sponsors of terrorism. But before the town hall meeting, I'm also aware that his chief press secretary has mentioned Okorocha and his son-in-law, also the
Uche Nwosu.
And I know Okorocha has picked his gong and is beating in jubilation to say that the man is a witty, couldn't name him, and that he would not mind the chief press secretary. He also saw it as laughable, the fact that the chief press secretary didn't wait for the governor to make his opinion before before he went out. And the governor, from my position, has said that for security reasons he wouldn't name them, or he didn't because he was advised against it. But talking about Hope Uzodinma, I don't think he is expecting that he will win in the next election. In the first instance, he is generally referred to as the Supreme Court governor. He didn't win the first, the second, the third, or the fourth.
And he said he's going to sue anyone that calls him that. He has given a strong warning.
Or the fourth position, but that's what he is in the election that brought him to power. And so he's enjoying his stay in office. It will be a political miscalculation for him to think that he will be closer to Abuja than Okorocha. We know what happens in Imo State right from the time of Okorocha to this present time. Okorocha is still senator representing the Central District in Imo State. We also know the controversy that surrounded his election, how somebody was forced to sign at one point. I don't know how that matter ended. Be that as it may, I think threatening to name the sponsors of terrorists or terrorism in Imo State is a huge joke. That may also lead to his impeachment that can be arranged from above. Because if that is done in Imo State, we'll be clamoring for it to be done at the national level. And we know that terrorism, banditry, Boko Haram, whatever you call them, we know who their sponsors are. And I also think that...
You know who their sponsors are?
Oh, we know.
We know. We are the we because I don't know.
I'm sure that immediately after this program, you will agree with me that government has hands in it at the national level.
Hold on. Now that is bogus. You cannot accuse the government, please.
Okay.
Our
late head of state has said that
okay,
if banditry or terrorism lasts beyond 24 hours, we know that government has hands in it.
That means during his own time.
No, he didn't say during his own time.
His own time, not now. His own time.
That's why sometimes when you call me on sensitive issues, I tell you I'm not free.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is that Abacha spoke as an army general. He spoke as head of state. He didn't say in my time. There was no banditry or terrorism in his time. He said that if it lasts beyond 24 hours, you know that government has a hand in it.
In his own time.
The one we are in now has lasted for more than 24 hours. I believe Abacha.
Okay, fine, you can believe Abacha, but Abacha's time is not this time. Let's take it like that.
Put it for in his own time alone. He spoke generally, and I absolutely believe him. Otherwise, how can we say go and bomb the whole of the area? Even if you destroy the whole of Zamfara State, Katsina State, and the likes, Kaduna State, are you going to bomb the state houses, government houses? If there is an order, go and destroy the forest. I'm sure in the dark of the night, these terrorists will be sleeping and enjoying in governmental quarters.
Yes.
So you go bomb the animals and the poor people in their farms. Because I believe Abacha. I do not believe that it is possible for you to now go and attack the people that were once called my people by this present president. He has said that attack on Boko Haram is an attack on the north. He asked Lam, I didn't say anybody, I said that he could be you. He has also asked Lam Adesina, why are your people killing my people? So how can somebody like that now give order for his people to be bombed?
All right. I will come back to you, Barrister Robinson Imade, but let's make one thing clear. No terrorists will go to government quarters to relax. If an order should come, let's be guarded, please. We are on air, so if you cannot ascertain
by the time this is done, it will be done to waste Nigeria's money. Now let's see the number of corpses that we will see on the street.
Okay.
Let's see 3 days after the bombing, if terrorists will not attack.
Okay.
Where would they have been hidden?
All right,
It
I'll
could
come back
go
to you,
like
barrister. I'll come back to calm down, barrister. Calm down. Don't you sometimes
we are just fighting
one.
a war of a war that we cannot win because we are not sincere. Bandits
Okay.
are even more relevant. Terrorists in the north are more relevant to this administration than the normal citizens.
They never said that. They
They
never
won't say
said
so.
that. They never said that. Now, let me come to you, Barrister Anakwe Mbane, for still the Imo situation. Some are saying Uzodinma did the right thing. Others are saying this is politically motivated because of the fight between him and Okorocha. Remember that Omoso was picked up also in cause of all this squabble. Where is your stand on this?
Yeah, before I answer that question, I want to say that as much as we are discussing the issue about this country,
Yes.
we also know that there are regulatory bodies that are monitoring the television houses like this, and we owe a duty to ensure that television houses continue to exist for the benefit of mankind. I think we have to watch our ways.
So we should not speak the
So,
truth
how
as
they
we
say-
know
how
it
they say
because
that-
of.
Those are academic
We cannot succumb
You can use
to
the word-
this
you
government
can-
gagging us.
You can use the word allegedly.
Barrister.
Somebody allegedly
Barrister.
said, but not,
If you use the
Why?
phrase,
Hold on,
hold on,
hold on.
you have the facts on your
Banditry
fingertips.
exists.
Let me-
hold on. Barrister.
Abacha says so.
Barrister, hold
I did
on.
not say
He
somebody.
has the floor. He has the
I'm
floor.
not saying I said I agree with
And it's not
Abacha.
a gazette.
Okay.
I said I agree with Abacha. Abacha
Gentlemen.
was the main person in this country.
All right.
What
Gentlemen.
Abacha said, I agree with.
With him.
Explain
Okay.
that.
All right. All
I
right
have no
now.
apologies.
Okay, hold on now because right now, as it stands, if you cannot prove something, let's leave it at that. That's
I
what
can't prove that Abacha said so.
no. That's what I said. That was Abacha's time, not now. Please, let's talk with dispensation.
question again.
Yes, I was talking about the Uzodinma issue. Some are saying it's politically motivated. Others are saying it is the truth. Don't forget that Mosu was picked up, and I asked the question, what's your stand on this?
Coincidentally, I'm from Imo State, and we're not happy about this.
Oh, you're from Imo State?
Yes, from Imo State.
Okay.
Which company?
I'm also from.
Which camp are you really?
I'm also from the particular area. The whole thing is happening.
Okay.
From Luzon,
Okay.
and most of us did not travel for Christmas because of the security situation in Imo State. Quite unfortunate. Well, the Uzodinma saga is this way. You know, the issues in Imo State are not being addressed as it were. Unfortunately, it's not addressed as it were because what the government in power is doing is using the platform of government to fight those they termed as their political enemies. Most of them have seen the outgoing governor, Richard Okorocha, and his group as his problem in Imo State. But the question is, when he came to power, like my late friend said, through the Supreme Court, he appeared to have forgotten the major essence of him coming to power was to ensure that Imo State is developed, was to ensure that Imo State is made better than the way he met it, and to ensure that everything works right, that ensure that there is both human development and infrastructural development in the state. Unfortunately, nothing is being done by the government. They are not paying much attention to the issue of infrastructure development, human development, and otherwise. Instead, he's fighting a kind of a political war. Again, we thought that he will have had some time to redeem his image as a sitting governor, or try as much as he can to see how he can appease the people, to make the people happy. And of course, if he had achieved that, maybe the people would have forgotten where he was coming from. And so, what happened recently in Imo State was quite unfortunate and very embarrassing. For you to go to a church on a Sunday and kidnap somebody, and as if there's no laws in this country. And so after Uche Wosu was kidnapped in that church, the whole world reacted. That even if he's a devil, the way and manner for which he was taken away, kidnapped from the church was completely out of place.
When the police made a statement to that, and it was the kidnapper, the one that came to pick him up. That's what they said.
The whole thing, the whole video was all over the place. In fact, it was all over the place. The internet and all, everybody saw the video. What transpired. So, and in the press interview, which was created about Tewosu, he narrated exactly what transpired. How he was taken away from the church, how he was taken to Enugu airport, and how he was flown to Abuja, and how the IG of police intervened and ordered that the man should be released. Reason being that security details given to the governor has no business arresting or kidnapping somebody. It's the duty of the commissioner of police in Imo State to have invited that man if they feel he has any questions to answer. We have DSS, we have the police. DSS did not invite the man. The police did not invite the man. What business has the governor's security details to go to the church and pick somebody as if he's a common criminal? Don't forget, the costs are there. If the man is alleged to have committed any offense, it's the duty of the arm of the security agents like the DSS or the police to invite him if they have facts and figures to have done what they did. But in this case, the way and manner the young man was taken away was what made the IG of police to have ordered that the man should be released. And of course, the man that was kidnapped, which was, gave credit to the IG of police to have done a very, very good job.
So you say that this is all politics?
It's all politics. Everything Uzodinma is doing in Imo State, whoever is naming as a terrorist, is all politics. But let me say this before we leave here, because the time is not our friend again. It is also very unfortunate that at this point in time, where there is sophisticated equipment for like drones, for which countries like the United States and other developed world are using to track anybody they want to track. That Nigerian government is saying that the governor in Nigeria is saying that bomb here, bomb there. You don't just go and bomb a community without having a target.
He has a reason for saying that. Use the word carpet bombing.
How much is drone? Nigeria can afford drones. Go to these areas, send the drone to these areas. The way we have these problems, they'll be able to point at the areas where the gentlemen are operating from. With the signal to the Air Force, they can do what they want to do. So a blanket order that a community should be bombed is not in tune with the times. When we have sophisticated equipment like drones that the military can use to locate where there's a problem and get into that particular area.
Okay.
And the conclusion is that, like my little friend said, there's a point to what he was saying, of course, just that the way he was saying it. Who is Gumi in Nigeria? And if he has been running errands between the bandits, now them terrorists, who is he to this government? And if we are not saying, okay, the bandits are now terrorists. Has DSS invited Gumi?
Okay.
I said, please, now you will feel that you have enough information about the so-called bandits now called terrorists. Come down with your information. But this is not happening. So there is no honest, commitment by the Political Association in fighting the so-called terrorists.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Anakwe Mbane, for just imagine me, they call themselves learned. In fact, they are learned gentlemen. Me interviewing learned gentlemen. Take a look at the points being churned out by these learned gentlemen about the country. Well, it's all about security situation in Nigeria, and we're taking it step by step. Now to the third one. The governor made a stand. He said, "Look, Mr. President, I applaud you for naming bandits terrorists, but this time around you have to move it to Miyetti Allah and some other tribes in Nigeria, name them terrorists." As I'm saying, Autumn is sitting below the belt and he's going too far. Maybe, just maybe, he's biting more than he can chew in the fight against terrorism, naming a cattle breeder association, and of course all connected to a particular ethnic group, the Fulanis to be precise, all of them terrorists. Come on, is it not taking it too far, Barrister Emmanuel Bakmolo?
Governor Samuel Ortom is one of the governors that captures or fancies my admiration. But recently, why is because of his being outspoken. But recently I discovered that the governor is making a lot of error also. Ortom is no less different from Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State. Governor Samuel Ortom knows that the president cannot name Miyetti Allah a terrorist group. The presidency cannot even name Miyetti Allah a sponsor of terrorists in Nigeria. He knows that. At times the governor, to my mind just now, wants to get the attention of Nigerians. But he should also know that he swore to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to give good governance to the people of Benue State. He holds them that responsibility. So, coming to tell the presidency that, oh, you have done well, you've named bandits, what result have we seen? Now, he's now adding Miyetti Allah. For me, the governor should concentrate more on governance just now. Because the problem today in Nigeria is that governors who cannot perform are now using the excuse of insecurity to tell Nigerians that this and that is not functioning. Whereas in their own state, they are not doing anything. I want him to, for the now, to be silent and give the people of Benue State good governance. Because if you name all the people, all the Fulanis, all the tribes in Nigeria terrorists, this administration will still not fight them squarely. Okay. So we have a lot of groups already named terrorists for us to fight. So the governor should think of better things to do, to my mind.
Over to you, Barrister Robinson anybody.
Well, we are in a society where whatever government says becomes law. We no longer can speak the truth for fear of either being arrested or having media houses sanctioned. But let me tell my friend who is very cautious about this government that saying that Uche was kidnapped, that amounts to calling the security details of the governor kidnappers. I'm not part of that. I will say so. I will say so. Who are terrorists? Terrorists are no. Terrorism is not a tribe in Nigeria or anywhere in the world. It refers to a group of people who engages in acts of terrorism, acts that are endemical, that are frustrating to the civilized society. And so, if Miyetti Allah engages in acts of terrorism, for example, what's his name? The Governor Ortom has cried out that having passed the anti-grazing law, that Miyetti Allah wrote and said if he did not rescind the position, he should expect attacks. How many times has the man buried his people? A mass burial. So in my opinion, if he mentions groups that he believes should be termed terrorists, the question is, are those groups really engaged in terrorist acts? If they are, he'll be in my opinion, he'll be right to say, oh, if you have named this, why don't you name the others? Because they also engage in acts of terrorism. So it is only if we say that, like El-Rufai want us believe, that Miyetti Allah is like this Yoruba Afenifere group, or like the Igbo group, what they call it.
IPOB or Ohaneze Igbo.
That
Yeah.
they act the same way. If they do not act, they do not behave, they do not speak in a way that conforms with the norms of the society, if they act in ways that are terrorism in disguise or fully, then why would anybody want to kill Autumn for saying these people are also terrorists because they do A, B, C, D? But whether the government accepts it or not, my position is the truth should be spoken always, irrespective of whose horse is God. I won't be afraid of arrest or sanction to my person or what I represent at any time. The time I start to be afraid of such, I begin to keep quiet. And they say that when you keep quiet in the face of tyranny, then you are an accomplice. So in my opinion, we should say it at the rooftops, at the mountain tops, that Buhari administration is not giving to the people what he promised them. We should also say the way it is. We, out of fear of sanction, we now use the term herdsmen. I don't know the Igbo herdsmen. I don't know the Benin herdsmen. The people I know are the Fulani herdsmen. We can no longer say Fulani herdsmen. Until this administration came about, they were known as Fulani herdsmen. Today they are herdsmen. If Autumn now says Miyetti Allah, maybe they will change their name soon. If the ask of Miyetti Allah, their activities, the way they operate, is seen to be close to being terrorists, they should be so named.
All right.
Otherwise, if they are like the other socio-cultural groups, like the Ohaneze, the Afenifere, and the likes, well, nobody will call them terrorists. But I know that Miyetti Allah has been performing below the expectations of Nigeria as a group.
Okay. I'll come back to you. Over to you now, Anakwe Mbane for Esquire. Do you share their thoughts and opinion? Because of what Barrister Popolo said, he said is going too far. While Barrister Robinson Mbane was a little bit diplomatic about it. If they are doing this, yes, it should be called that. If not, let it be. What's your stand?
Yes, at the beginning of this discussion, my learned colleague Obapolo has informed us here that the anti-terrorism gazette, or the gazette that gave birth to bandits being called terrorists. The weight it's used was too wide, to the extent that any other social cultural organization that airs the opinion that is not comfortable to the government can term them terrorists. And it's very dangerous. Very, very dangerous, because what it means is that it might end up breaching the fundamental rights of Nigerians. It might also end up crippling into the freedom of speech of Nigerians. And it now becomes another decree number 4. And so that is why we must be very, very careful about the wordings used in some of these gazettes and the every law. So my other friend too was right when he was saying that if Miyetti Allah acts or is caught acting like a terrorist group, they should term so. And so I think the statement of Autumn was tied to the omnibus ground of that particular gazette, as it were.
If you just joined us, this is the last phase, so to speak, for today's edition of This Morning on ITV. We're taking a look at the security situation in Nigeria. Benue State government stand on terrorism. Barrister Anakwe Mbanefo, you were trying to, color a point in support of what Barrister Robinson Imade talked about, and also drawing point from Barrister Emmanuel Obapolo. Please, you have the floor right now. Go ahead. Autumn stand.
The summary of what I said before the news is that the Gazette, naming bandits, terrorists, that the weight used, the weight was couched, was too wide. That because it's too wide, it can be given different interpretations by different persons or by different courts. Because my learned friend, that was saying that if Mietiala, has the ingredients of terrorists, has been allegedly said by the governor of Benue State, they should be deemed to be terrorists. So, but what we're saying is that those who are in authority should be very careful when couching a law, a language used, the words used, should be specific to what they are talking about. So such laws could be dangerous because it can lead to the infringement of the fundamental rights of Nigerians. So because a group may make an assertion and can be misinterpreted to mean a different thing entirely. But having said so, my very good friend, Martin Luther King Jr., in one of the books he authored, that book was titled, Where Do We Go From Here? Martin Luther King, in one of his books titled, Where Do We Go From Here? Was talking about then in the US, the issue of racism and all, making somebody to be looked at as a sort of human being, while the other man is superior to the other person, was not saying, where do we go from here? So, drawing an inference from that book to the issue we are discussing. The issue of terrorism in Nigeria, where do we really go from here? The fear is that the damage that is done in northern Nigeria at present, those states cannot recover in the next 20 years by terrorists. And there is every tendency or every likelihood that if nothing is done, there is every likelihood that we may have more problems of seeing these terrorists take over some of these states. So there will be need for government to be very proactive in this fight against terrorism. Again, we need more of action. That a group of people have been named terrorists does not solve the problem. What solves the problem is, what is the action plan of the ruling government to put a stop to this? Barrister Robinson has said it here, that the president has earlier said in his campaign promise that 6 months is enough to put a stop to this. Unfortunately, he has followed his words. And so, anything can still happen if the government is honest about it to ensure that this is nipped on the bud.
All right.
But you don't, recommend a cure worse than a disease. I think naming bandit terrorists is like recommending a cure worse than a disease, because what Nigerians want to hear is that we are making progress, and look at how the progress is being made.
Okay.
You don't go and purchase a Govt to fight terrorism. I'm going to keep it somewhere in Ghana.
All right, because some persons, some are say asking, where is the Tucano jets? In Benin dialect, a Tucano war, that means where is the Tucano jets were bought? Now, from what Barrister Robinson Imade said, he said, after summer, autumn of Benue State, the governor maintained the anti-grazing law. Yes, a letter was wrote to him saying that, look, if you don't do this, this clash, this altercation may continue. But is that enough to say this group of persons should be named terrorists, going by the Gazette of the president?
Yes, that is why I said the way the Gazette was couched suggests generality. So any group or any person or group of person or group of persons that come up to say, no, we don't like the way, or we don't expect the way things are going, the government can easily term them terrorists. Look, just as we are saying here, and even the presidency, the president know that. This present administration is not interested in fighting terrorism.
But they are fighting terrorism already.
Listen. Yeah. The reason being that top government officials, even a week ago, the governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, who is the present chairman of Governors Forum, said the government knows the bandit, knows the terrorist. So by the time the government know these people,
That's what he said.
Look, do you know?
But it cannot be ascertained, but that's what he said, according to you.
Do you know, about a month or two ago, the president went to Turkey to say he needs the assistance of Turkey to fight insurgency in Nigeria. Where America and other countries are there telling you, we want to intervene, we want to assist you. What does that suggest? It suggests that they know these persons. The bogus, they come up with bogus budgets, make a lot of money for themselves, and they tell us they are fighting corruption, but where corruption is tearing them on the face. So this administration is not interested in all what we are saying now.
If they're not interested, how come the president went to Turkey?
You know what they will do?
Kano, they bought weapons.
Let me tell you,
they are fighting this war
recently
against terrorists.
Recently, they were not saying, if you are not aware, this same government, like Mohammed said it, that in 2014, prior to the election, that President Goodluck Jonathan used 2 to 3 weeks to send away the terrorists in Borno State. So the only time Nigerians can have peace is when there is election. That's what that statement suggests. So they are not interested in all of this. So Autumn has come up to say, really, this person should be named this. I am not in total disagreement with him. No, I am not. But also, I want him to find solution to the insecurity problem in Benue State, just as some of the Southwest governors have done in their state. Today, Lagos is relatively peaceful. Today, Edo State is relatively peaceful. Though I don't like the approach of the governor, I must be sincere, because the vigilantes just took it upon themselves to ensure that we get peace. The government is not interested. I know you want to say, we don't say so, but I will say it.
You just said it that
yes, I will say it.
You just can't say
I
that.
will say it.
Because the
government is not interested. I pray.
He gave the right to
I pray that these vigilantes in Edo State will not turn against the people tomorrow, because they are not being catered for. The governor can give them stipends. I am aware, and Enoge in this Edo State is paying the vigilante in his own area. So all of these things, the governor has even deliberately refused to sign, to document the anti-grazing law. He has deliberately refused to do that. Did we force him to go attend the meeting in Asaba Declaration? We were not there when they took the decision, but see all what is playing out, all politics towards what 2023.
All right. I'll come back to you if there's still time, Barrister Emmanuel, or else that may just be your last line on this discussion, because time is fast spent. Well, according to what Barrister Emmanuel Obapolo said, he said a governor was accusing the government, said that they know these people. People can just say that that's occasion because they have squabble in the government forum, so to speak. Now, back to what Autumn said. If he chooses to stand with his comments, saying, name this tribe, name this association terrorists, don't you think that he's brewing trouble the more in that state, rather than him focusing on governance?
Well, part of focusing on governance is ensuring that lives and properties are protected and secured. And Autumn is screaming, has been calling on the presidency. It does not have state police, nobody has in Nigeria. It has its local vigilante. They have said that the anti-grazing law has come to stay. He will not abrogate it. And he's standing with and by his people. I salute his courage. But I think that he does not give it down just now. He has said that the people of Benue should protect themselves. He's ready to protect them. He has also told the world that there has been an attempt at his life. People have tried to kill him a number of times. We've seen it. So I think the man is doing what he should do. He sees the Military as an immediate threat to him and his people. And he sees the activities as akin to those of the terrorist group. And he's saying, oh, these people are among them, name them. I don't see anything wrong with that. Well, having said that, let us also not forget the fact that El-Rufai, who is a pseudo or de facto president of Nigeria, in my assessment, has said in 2014 that the security of lives and properties is squarely in the hands of government.
We have one president, sir, Muhammadu Buhari. Even if we use what de facto, please.
Okay, a friend of the presidency.
Oh, okay.
I said that in 2014 that Goodluck Jonathan should protect lives and properties or resign, and that amounted to incompetence, and that no other person will help him. They voted for him. He knew he could do it. That's why he came up. If he was not going to be able to do it, he should resign. So today we are saying that there is a precedent in Aso Rock, and so in line with what the advice of El Rufai, if the security of lives and property as entrenched in the Constitution is no longer of primary or utmost importance to this administration, I join El Rufai to say resign, especially as you are saying that age is weighing you down, so that Nigeria can move forward. As far as terrorism fight is concerned, as my learned colleague here said, this government is not ready, will not be ready to fight it, because I believe in what Abacha said, that if terrorism lasts beyond 24 hours, government is involved.
Anyway, they're going to see fighting to Kano jets that they're talking about weapons being purchased and the rest of them. So they have interest in fighting terrorism. And that comment is Abacha's time. That may be your last comment on this particular discussion. Thank you so much. And Akwen Banefo, please, you're going to close this discussion because we're pressed for time right now. What advice do you have for Nigerians and, of course, security agents that are busy fighting terrorists right now?
Yes, the advice I have for Nigerians is that the Nigerian military should take advantage of the latest technology and acquire drones. These days, you no longer fight a blind war. You fight war with technologies. The whole world is watching US, the whole world is watching China, the entire world is watching Russia. Russia today is a big player in the whole world. US the same, China the same, North Korea the same. And these people are relying on technologies. US has break into so many feet through drones. So I don't know why we are behaving as if we are still in the 60s and 50s and 40s. Should take advantage of that. Again, we have lost so many lives in the northern Nigeria. We can't pretend not to be aware of that. The fact that we have once somebody is from another part of the country, does not make him not to know that these people that are dying are human beings. And nobody knows whose turn it will be tomorrow. There is need to maintain sanity and peace in the north. This is 2022. It's election year. The government in power should understand that we Nigerians are frustrated. And it's the only ground on which we are going to vote for the government in next year is to ensure that we see something positive from the government.
All right.
And I expect that those in authority should know that there's need to do the right path. Nigerians need peace. Nigerians need security. The major essence of government is to protect lives and property. And when the government fails to do that, then they have abdicated their duties to the citizen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate a wonderful analysis. You know, security situation or discussion is quite sensitive, so you have to be very careful to play according to the rules. Sometimes, emotions may just rise. We have to do our best possible to bring it down. Barrister Manuel, thank you so much. Barrister Robertson, I appreciate you. Barrister Nakwen Banefo, thanks a lot for coming on today's show. Yeah, you can spread it to the rest of them. Well, it's all about you, it's all about me. It's all about security situation in the country. Government, they have squabble. One is accusing the other of knowing who these bandits are. What is the role of Gumi? What Autumn said, is it true? What about the aspect of what was them? And of course, the presidency finally agreeing to name bandits terrorists. How are they going to Ghana all days? Like what they said, Abacha said, if it persists, that means somewhere along the line there is a collusion. Don't forget about the fact that a governor, alleged collusion, don't forget about the fact that the governor of a particular state said, look, defend yourself. That's what he said. And it was also cautioned not to say that you want to arm the people. How are they going to fight against terrorism? AK-47. You know, so things are happening in this country. And Nigeria, like, wondering what in the world is happening. The fight against terrorists, are we winning the war or we are losing it? If we are winning, how far have we gone? If we are losing, what are the factors making us to lose? Anyway, the comments of my guests are their comments. It has nothing to do with ITV, but do the best possible to follow rules and regulations following the airwaves. Thank you so much for being a part of it. See you next week Sunday. Bye for now.